And we have safely arrived somewhere where
Just cross pools.
I'm reliably informed we can get lunch.
So we've either got a little Italian restaurant, which would be appropriate, or there's a chippy, or Mediterranean street food bar.
What you fancy?
Not sure at the moment. Let's have a look at it.
Okay.
Let's have a chat with the Italian guy and see what he thinks of this.
It looks like somebody's parked a toy car there. It really does. It looks like a child's car. I've taken full advantage of the in-car kebab holder. Now, have we found reverse?
Yeah, let's find out. Hit curb.
Well, this is a bit of a different lunch, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry there's no caravans to
Tell me again, I remember on the power washer board days, you doing a mad thing in the TVR, driving to Germany for an eBay thing.
Yeah, so that was when the Icelandic volcano decided to disrupt everyday life, and I was doing some work with eBay, some affiliate work, and they invited me to an exhibition in Munich. And there's generally a couple of eBay affiliates we get together and talk about strategies and what was happening and what eBay's plans were, and drink lots of beer. And quite looking forward to this, understandably, because eBay were paying for everything. And anyway, I was about to set off to the airport and get a call from Ryanair, EasyJet, whichever one it was, saying fortunately we can't fly, it's not safe, so we're refunding your flight, and yeah, sorry about that. But,
goodbye.
Yeah, no alternatives. There's no point getting angry or anything like that. It's a volcano, for God's sake. It's not like they had any control over it. So I had two cars at the time. I had a Volvo XC90 and the TVR. And I thought, well, I could drive to Munich. It's doable. When as a kid we lived in Germany, we used to drive back to England overnight, so I knew it was doable. Except I didn't have insurance or breakdown cover for the Volvo, but I did have European cover for the TVR, and it was that little moment of game on, let's do this. So I set off from Stoke at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, got down to the Channel Tunnel, just took the next train that was going across. I was waiting there for about an hour, got across into France at about 9 o'clock local time, and basically planted my foot to the floor and kept it there until I got to Munich. And that was 900 miles that I'd done in pretty much one hit. My average speed, don't know whether you want to censor this, so statute of limitations, but my average speed once I got off the Channel Tunnel, including 3 fuel stops, was 104 miles an hour.
Bollocks, was it?
Yeah. I maxed out my sat nav at 154, 156 miles an hour near Stuttgart, and it was still pulling, but because TVRs aren't the most aerodynamically designed thing, I could feel the front
were you
end.
lifting?
Yeah, I could feel the front end lifting, and as that, you know, the engine had more to give, but the front wheels were barely touching the ground. So I thought,
Yeah,
well,
that would give you pause, wouldn't it?
yeah, I mean, I was just on an adrenaline buzz of Red Bull and excitement and soundtrack of a decap V8. It was quite an experience, but yeah, that was my little mini road trip and last minute mission, and I don't think you could do that again now. You know, certainly with speed limits and ULEZ zones and all that malarkey.
Those days are gone.
Yeah, a lot of fun's been taken out of driving, but I think the old saying goes, anyone can drive fast in a straight line.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I was doing. I was travelling through the night on the autobahn, foot to the floor, no other traffic around.
Car's got a fan. He was just stroking it.
Yeah.
What would your dream road trip be now?
I'd still like to do Route 66, but again, that's very, very different to what it once was. Did actually in a previous life, when we very nearly got married, that was possibly one of the honeymoon options, was pick up a car at Chicago and drive to San Francisco. I think that would still be good fun. I'd love to do one of these banger rallies. You know, you buy a car for 500 quid, drive it to Africa and just leave it there as a donation for a local.
I was thinking of doing a mini version of that, just within the UK, where you've got a 500 quid budget.
Yeah.
I was thinking about some stuff going back to how I started with the 500 quid thing, and just doing some low budget version of that, like you have to drive it from wherever you live to Llandudno, something like that, and we all
Yeah.
meet at the top of the Great Orme.
I think the other thing would be like, you know, it's like a treasure trail sort of thing, where you have to get your car photographed at certain places or next to certain things, and just a little road trip around, say, North Wales or Scotland or even the Peak District. It doesn't have to be far.
That's a good idea, actually.
You know, I've often said I've done various track day events with people with cars that are, you know, 7 figures and stuff like that, and it's not what you drive, it's the fact that you drive it and enjoy it. And you know, there's people that I know that have got £1 million plus car collections, and they're happy to share it with people, and that's, you know, that means a lot more. Yes, they've got a £1 million Pagani, but look, they're taking it out, they're giving people passenger rides around it, they're not precious about it. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's not the value of your car or how fast it goes, it's what you do with it and what it brings to you, and the stories that you can tell with it, and the adventures that you can make with it, and the memories that you make with it.
This is something that Mustard and I talk about quite a lot. That
You talk about a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Some of it makes no sense whatsoever, but yeah.
some of it.
Okay.
When you're out on a road in the Peak or in the Pennines or whatever, you're effectively getting the same experience whether you paid 500 quid for your car or 500,000 quid.
Yeah, and you know, certainly roads these days, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's places where you can open the taps briefly, but opening the taps in a 24 horsepower Fiat 500 is very different to opening the taps in like near 300 horsepower TVR. You know,
Yeah.
one of them will give you a big smile in the face, the other one will possibly kill you and land you in prison.
Yeah.
And but yeah, how do you measure which is more fun? I mean, yeah, the TVR's got a great soundtrack and you can get very quick and be an absolute hooligan in it, but
The answer is to have both, isn't it? And
well, yeah,
take
it's
fun
the
from-
obvious answer. And you know, as you've seen yourself, the amount of joy that brings other people. You know, it's not just about me driving it and what it means to me, but you've seen just driving around, and even just parked here, somebody goes up and looks at it and hugs it and touches it, and it's like, That's what the car community is about, isn't it?
Mm.
You know, it's bringing people together, it's making memories. Everyone's got little stories they can tell about. You know, you remember your mum having one of these. The reason I bought it was because it's the first car I remember being in. Everyone I speak to has got a little story about a Fiat 500 and what it means to them.
Mm.
And that's what it's all about. I'm sure there's people at the Pagani Zonda meets that'll have similar sort of conversations, but just on a slightly different level maybe. Who knows? But again, it's that...
I think you have done a very, very good thing. I applaud you.
It's preserving that car for, not just for me, but for everyone who sees it.
Mm.
And it's the same, you know, the TVR. I enjoy going out doing track days. I do prom runs in it. When we go to car shows and the kids want to say, oh, can I sit in your car? It's like, yeah, of course you can. You know, just don't kick it or anything like that. But the kids just want to sit in a nice car and have the picture taken in it, and I'm happy to do that. You know, if it creates another little petrol head, then...
I remember you buying the Tavia.
In Belfast on Christmas Day.
I don't remember that bit.
So yeah, I bought that. It's was sat at my grand's house, and Queen's speech had just finished, and it's like, yeah, so I've just bought myself a TVR, and I hadn't actually seen it. But to be fair, I had been talking to the seller beforehand, and I'd had it loosely inspected before I bid on it. But yeah, so I bought it on Christmas Day, picked it up about 2 weeks later, drove it back home from Belfast in the snow.
Oh my God.
Which is fun. But yeah, again, that's just a car that I don't ever plan to sell. I've got that many memories attached to it, and there's such a story attached to it that it's inextricably linked to me now. You know, it's kind of almost my identity, and I think this is going to be the same. Yeah, this is going to be part of my life for however long more. But look at it sat over there next to the Fiesta looking tiny.
It is. Unless you've actually experienced it, it's kind of impossible to genuinely get across just how diminutive it is in
and how
every
basic
sense.
And
yeah.
yeah. I mean, the fact that there's no seat belts, you know, that's... Okay, we're of a generation, we remember cars before seatbelts were compulsory, and but before they were even fitted, you know, that's another level of
It is.
how to confuse the millennials.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm so pleased with it. It's just everything that I'd wished for so many years. And I'll love it and hug it and cherish it.
It's nice when you achieve a dream and it's everything that you thought that it would be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I like about it is it's not absolute concourse condition. It's not being subject to like a six-figure restoration, and I'm not afraid to drive it.
Well, I can see
Yeah.
that.
You know, yes, it's there. It is very good condition, but it's there to be used. Okay, we'll spend a lot of time in the garage, but you know, likewise, I don't want to be afraid to just jump in it and head up to the Peak District, go for a picnic at Bakewell or anything like that.
You genuinely surprised me in that you were driving it with absolute confidence and just driving it as if it was a totally normal car in traffic. There are at least 4 or 5 occasions of parked cars where you just unhesitatingly threw it down the middle of the road, where I, even in one of mine, let alone in something as valuable as that, where I would have hung back. And no, you just, no, just go for it.
It's assertiveness.
Yeah.
But without being aggressive. It's just, yeah, it's there to be used. It's there to be used, and I want to use it. I don't want to feel precious about it. I don't want to be scared to drive it.
No, that would be a shame.
Yeah, you know, it needs to be out, and I say it's hardly done any mileage. It needs running. Cars don't like being stood up for a long period of time.
the mileage is daft, isn't it?
Isn't it?
I mean, it's a typical island car, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Small island, how far can it go?
Yeah. Yeah. But I've also got the urge now, I think I might need to visit Sicily at some point in my life.
Well, I was asking you about dream road trips. My dream road trip does involve Sicily. Because my dream road trip would be to drive to Gozo.
Okay. Take
and-
there's ferries across from what, Italy to Malta?
No, there's a ferry from Italy to Sicily,
Yeah.
and then there's a ferry from Sicily to Malta.
Right.
So you would have to drive across Sicily on my dream road trip.
Okay. I'm not sure that's the right car for it.
Wouldn't that be fun driving that through the Alps though? And I
Fun.
mean, you know,
Well, do you know what?
I mean fun as in absolutely fucking terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. But do you know what? I did actually talk about that. Me and the missus did discuss how about we'll fly out there and drive one back.
Yeah.
And I think the idea sounds fantastic, but you know, even just like a couple of hours playing with that, sat around it, you think, oh, there's no way I'd want to drive sort of like, you know, the best part of 1,500 miles in it, over hills, in something that I've got no idea the history. So then we talked about,
Would be a brave shout, wouldn't it?
yeah, then we talked about actually just hiring a van or a little flatbed, driving down there and just having a bit of a road trip. Because the other thing is, what happens if you drive down there and you don't find the one that you want? Do you drive all the way back, or do you stay there until you find it, or do you buy just anything so you don't come back empty-handed? So the more I thought about it, the more I thought, no, that's setting myself up for a problem.
I mean, you could see the romance of it and the excitement and the adventure of it, but I think
The practicalities and the
Yeah.
reality of it.
I would have gone down exactly the same route. I would have been all about, right, go down, collect one, drive
Yeah.
it back, transport it back. The adventure will be part of the story of the car.
Yeah,
And then when you actually look into it, you think, well,
that's just ludicrous.
what were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, what sort of idea is that really to someone my size?
But after, you know, in 5 years' time or something, wouldn't that be a bucket list thing to take it home
Oh yeah, yeah.
for a visit? Like, I'm planning to do that with Wet Leg.
Back to the Isle of Wight.
Yeah, I'm going to have an adventure this year, overnight, take it back to the Isle of Wight, and film back to back with Phil and his other one. But it'll be about the adventure getting
Yeah.
down there.
Do you know what I think would be interesting for that one? Take it back to the village that I grew up in, where it all started.
Ah,
And I said it's a little tiny village just outside Belfast, and I said there's about 5 or 6 of us would be piled into the back seat. If I remember, there's maybe 2 or 3 kids sat in the front seat, and we just drive from one end of the village to the other, go to nursery school, do a nursery school thing, then come back in the afternoon. And that's what started my love affair with cars. And I think maybe you should take it back, take
if
it
you
back
can
to the...
pick up 5 or 6 of your mates as they are now and pile them all in the back of that, I will be the first person to sign the sponsorship form for that little adventure. But that'd be a lovely thing for you and the missus to do.
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, she's only been back to Northern Ireland once, and she did love it. I'm not sure if she'd love going back to Northern Ireland in that.
Oh, it'd be an adventure. It's a sort of thing where, okay, you wouldn't want to do your daily commute,
No.
but if it's something special and you're going into it, right, this is an adventure, time doesn't matter, inconvenience doesn't matter, it's fun, it's an adventure, then it becomes a different thing. I mean, just the drive to bloody, where would you go from, Holyhead?
Either Liverpool or Holyhead. I think driving to Scotland would just be a nightmare.
Yeah.
But yeah, Liverpool or Liverpool get an overnight ferry, Holyhead.
Holyhead would be a stunning drive because you get to drive the
The
55, isn't it?
Yeah.
The coast road.
And then back into Northern Ireland, you do the whole Northampton coast, and yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh, mate.
that's a nice drive as well. I mean, I didn't get
Mate, we're
very
gonna have
far,
to stop
but
this conversation, or else I'm going to be there. That's my summer holiday sorted.
we spent a lot of time in Dundalk because that's where my wife is from.
Yeah.
and obviously you're right on border country there. So,
Yeah.
but she had a lot of friends in Newry,
Just the other side of the border.
just the other side of the border, yeah. And we had some memorable drives up in the mountains of Mourne.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Funny story about the mountains of Mourne. As a kid growing up in Northern Ireland in that little village, I used to have an apple tree at the back of the garden that I could climb up, and I could see the mountains of Mourne from the apple tree.
Really?
And then we went for a day trip and we went up to the mountains of Mourne, and I was so confused that
Your accent is becoming more pronounced when you're talking about home.
it does.
Did you know
yes,
that?
Yeah. It's a quirk of my accent. So yeah, I could see the mountains of Mourne from my vantage point to my apple tree, but I could not work out when I was on the mountains of Mourne, why could I not see my apple tree from the mountains of Mourne?
That's a question of scale. Do you know what I was thinking the other day when you mentioned doing the road trip with Terry,
Yeah,
and a road trip that none of us would have wanted to do, but we should do it?
yeah,
And my immediate thought was, it's going to be fucking freezing again, isn't it? Just like Richard's. And I thought, bizarrely, I thought we should all come up with some sort of pact that the next one of us to cough it should do it in summer. And
I don't think it quite works like that.
make it a more... Well,
Do you know what? Actually,
I don't know. I mean, if if you're thinking, well, I ain't going to make it through next winter, I mean, could you not
Yeah, at least
just bring it forward a bit and...
you accelerate the process somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some. What's the word I'm looking
Right,
for?
I'm pretty
Ethics.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to go in January, so I'll just jump off a multi-storey car park in August.
Yeah,
Although then
No,
you'd
it's,
miss Christmas.
yeah, that's true. But then you don't have the expense of Christmas. Then look at it on the positive side.
Would you worry about the expense? You know what they say, you can't take it with you.
True. True that.
Any news on when the funeral is?
No, we got a reply back from Shan just saying, thanks for thinking of us, keep in touch, sort of thing. So, but yeah, it'll just be one of those things. It'll happen when it happens, and yeah, we're getting to that age where we all meet up for.
It's the only time we bloody meet up, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I mean, when you're sort of like in your 20s and 30s, is everyone getting married and then having kids? But now you get
Yeah.
to like this, it's like 50s age, and it's like, yep, another funeral.
Thing is, it'll be a great do, and Steve will be so pissed off he's missing it. he loved the last
I
one.
know, I know. That's the sad thing, but yeah.
I was
Okay.
talking about this with the Nepali guys at work. They,
They've got sky burials though, haven't they? Their funerals are way cooler than ours.
yeah, but it's a pain in the arse when a family member dies. It's an absolute pain in the arse. You're not allowed to eat. Well, you can only eat the very, very basic. You're not allowed to eat meat.
Is hangry not a thing in Nepal?
You're not allowed, for 1 year, you're not allowed to eat meat. You're not allowed to eat salt. You're not allowed to drink alcohol. You're not allowed to have sex. You're not allowed to sleep on a bed. You have to sleep on the floor.
Wow.
Yeah, it's right pain. It's like you get punished for one of your relatives dying.
I guess that's the price of having a really cool funeral and a sky burial.
What's the sky burial? They haven't mentioned that.
That's where they leave the body just on the hill, and the soul is gone, and the body is just given back to nature, and the birds eat it.
Oh no, they chuck them in the river.
Oh right, yeah.
in,
Okay, so
in their part.
right.
Maybe that's what they do when they haven't got a river. Maybe they're a little bit
Yeah.
higher up.
Yeah.
But I just thought that's awful because you're being punished for. And when it comes to the actual funeral and whatnot, then
It's a bit North Korean, isn't it?
the highest level of grief imaginable has to be employed at all times, and ideally for the full year afterwards. And I'm
What if you
saying
didn't actually like the person?
that's kind of not a thing. You're not allowed not to like your family members.
No.
And I was trying to explain that, when we, because we were talking about this when Steve went, and I said, well, at the service itself, you'll shed a tear.
Yeah.
He said, but then, you get pissed.
you
eat
just
eat
talk-
too much and have a laugh.
Yeah, you just talk about all the good times that you had and some of the memories, and you share the stories. And
Yeah, it's, you know, it's a celebration of somebody's life rather than just endlessly mourning their passing.
Yeah, you should celebrate the fact that you had the privilege to know that person. And
It's kind of ironic, really, that that the best party and the party where the people are nicest about you is the one that you don't get to go to.
very true. Everyone says good things about you when you're dead.
Yeah. Although my friend the goat, of course, he got the best of both worlds because he died for tax purposes and attended his own funeral.
Okay.
Which did cause some difficulties when he actually died
Yeah.
because he'd already been dead for about 15 years.
Okay.
So there were some difficulties with the paperwork. So yeah, so he was buried as somebody else. But he did enjoy excellent tax privilege.
Well, yeah, it's difficult to collect taxes from a dead person.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, I probably need to go back and get my hat from the.
Yes. Should we make a move?
Yeah. There's little bins around somewhere.
Right, well, if the microphone picked any of this up, then that is the end to the first, but hopefully not the last. Boaty and Steve do lunch. Back to the little car.